Welcome back to Faces 8 on this Sunday morning. Hartford lost out on a presidential debate, but not for lack of trying. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving was instrumental in the effort, and with us today is the president of the foundation, Jay Williams. And Mr. Williams, good to see you here on the program.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me.
So first of all, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about the foundation and what it does.
Sure. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving is the largest community foundation in the state of Connecticut. We are also one of the oldest and largest community foundations in the entire country. We are headed toward 95 years old, and in a nutshell, we are a nonprofit organization that was created under the IRS codes to be able to receive donations from people who have philanthropic intentions, to invest those donations and be a good steward of those donations, but ultimately to then grant those funds back out to the communities that we serve to address a variety of needs across the region.
And you're really trying to foster civic engagement by people. And
absolutely.
Then how do you do that?
So that's one of the tenets that we are currently finding ourselves focusing on as a priority, and that related to the presidential debate opportunity to really help to educate, to energize, to empower individuals to exercise their constitutional rights, to be engaged in the process of shaping their government, whether it's at the federal, state, or particularly the local level. So it's one of the many activities that we're excited about, even though we did not find that Hartford was selected for one of the presidential debates. We have a new strategic focus that is really still going to be carried forward.
So how would the debate have helped Hartford?
We think the debate would have inarguably been a platform to elevate the work that we're doing. And let me take a moment just to explain that after the past year plus of listening to, learning from, engaging our donors, residents, and stakeholders, and examining an array of data, we came to a conclusion that this area, our region, still is plagued by significant disparities that are across race, income, and geographic location. And we thought that the work that we're doing with our partnerships could be elevated by the presidential debate, because the story of Hartford is a story that reflects so many other communities across the country. And we think that philanthropy and us as a community foundation have a leadership role in helping to address that.
You know, and the geographic difference between the social divide is pretty short in some places. You know, zip code to zip code, it can completely change.
Zip code to zip code, it is striking. The income mobility, the educational attainment, the quality of life, the wealth gap that exists literally within a few minutes drive within our region. And that is not something that is unique to our region, but what is unique to our region is the level of inequity, the fact that it continues to persist, the fact that it is dictating the quality of life and living such that we don't think that we can ignore it and be a leader in this community. And that's what is compelling us and driving us to really focus on this new work.
So how can this be fixed? How can that bridge be, you know,
it is going to take multiple actors. It is going to take public policy actors. It's going to take philanthropy and other nonprofits. It's going to take the corporate community to understand that this is about our own survival. There is a social justice and a moral argument can be made, but there's also a compelling business case that says if we are going to be a vibrant community, if we are going to be competitive within our own region, if we're going to be competitive in this country and indeed the global economy, we can't compete if we have significant portions of our population that are excluded from opportunities, excluded from tapping into the talent, and excluded simply because of structural or historical barriers that continue to exist. So, you know, we think that there are many, many opportunities for us to lead as a community foundation. We know that our donors have been responsive to this in very exciting ways, both leading and seeking to be further inspired and engaged. So that's why we think that for the foreseeable future, we have a significant role in helping to facilitate this progress.
You know, let's talk about the donation process and your donors for a moment, because Connecticut's losing population and the economy seems to be booming now, but there are many, you know, for many people it's not.
Right.
Do you find the donations are, sort of going down a little bit, or
we
holding steady?
have been very fortunate that our average donations over the past 3 or 5 years have been fairly consistent. We saw some implications with the tax policy changes a couple of years ago that donors are thinking differently about how they are giving their philanthropic activities. So to that end, we also are looking to continue to inspire philanthropy in new and different ways, to lower the barriers and the thresholds so that people don't think that they have to have a 7 or 8 figure net worth, or at the end of their life or career they should start thinking about philanthropy. We want philanthropy to be relevant, to be current day, and most importantly, to be impactful. I think in doing that, we will be able to stem the tide of what we are seeing in terms of the Connecticut's population and other types of activities.
I want to get your opinion on people getting more involved in the political process here. And last several episodes of this program, we have been talking about getting Connecticut more involved in the presidential process. Right now, our primary is dead last almost. Right. We are April 28th. There might be one candidate left. Who knows who that will be? But right now, you look at all the attention, all the money, is being spent right now in Iowa and New Hampshire and a little bit in South Carolina and Nevada. Do you think an earlier primary would get people more involved and more excited?
I don't know. I have for years watched states move their primaries earlier and earlier. To what end and to what benefit? Certainly there might be an emotional or psychological benefit. There could be an economic benefit. But whether or not that move, before you know it, we may have primaries on January 2nd. There are only so many days you can move it. Whether or not that would make people more excited, more engaged, I don't know. I think that it perhaps can't hurt. But I would much rather, in addition to that, focusing on getting people to understand how their voice, how their activity and engaging politics at every level is so relevant, especially for the times that we find ourselves in now. We can ill afford to have people be affected by the policies and the politics that go on, but not participate.
But certainly a debate would have brought, that
Absolutely.
engagement because at least the candidates would be here for a little bit. But right now they only come here to collect money. And they don't even campaign at all.
They would be here, and the focus and the eyes of the nation and indeed the world that would be drawn to Connecticut, to Hartford, Connecticut, would have been a great opportunity for us to demonstrate the partnerships, the work that is underway, would have been an opportunity for people that would have really excited people about becoming engaged, making sure that their voice is heard, making sure that they are engaged in the process in a way that they might otherwise find, well, I'm busy, or does it really matter? Does my vote count? And the answer to all of those things is absolutely yes. And the debate would have been a way to maybe bring that home in a much more unique and compelling way.
Let's talk a little bit about where we see money from the foundation actually in work, but in terms of grants. Give us some examples of where the money is spent.
So we are focusing now on three broad areas. We continue to build on our educational investments that we've been committed to for decades. We are working to continue to expand our opportunities in community economic development and community safety. So you will see the Hartford Foundation support across the 29-town region, arts and culture, basic human needs, again, community and economic development, education. But what we're also doing is looking to build out a portfolio of work that will allow us to be more impactful. And that's where we talked about where our role is in helping to mitigate some of those disparities in those very areas.
Jerry Williams from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. Very informative. We enjoyed it. And we hope that maybe we'll get the debate in 2024, right?
Thanks, Dennis.
Fingers crossed.